Welcome to Retiring Well, where it's our job to help you enjoy financial security in any economy. Well, today is part 2 of our 2-part series on the 6 proposals that our government has to change how your retirement plan works. This is really important stuff. I know you're going to enjoy it. Now it's time to meet our co-host and your local retirement planning specialists.
And in Birmingham, Alabama, this is Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor and your retirement planning specialist, Tad Hill.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, providing financial security in any economy. Today is the day you can take control of your financial future and eliminate worrying about your money forever. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, featuring Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor Tad Hill, founder of Freedom Financial Group in Birmingham.
The 6 ways, or the 6 proposals, if you will, that our government has to change your retirement plans and the rules under which they operate. That's a topic of conversation. Today is part 2. Last week we covered the first 3, and just to recap them very quickly, auto enrollment for IRAs, a cap on how much you can save in your retirement plans, and limiting distributions to 5 years for non-spousal beneficiaries. That's what we talked about last week. And if you missed that show, make sure you go to our website and check it out. Anyway, this week we want to talk about the other 3 proposals. Now remember, proposal means that the government is saying, we think this would be a good idea. It is not yet law. It is not yet in force. So these are just things that they're talking about, but we want to pay attention to that because when they start talking about changes like this, oftentimes they end up being enacted. So let's see, the first one we want to talk about today, which would be proposal number 4, I guess, would be to have a 28% maximum benefit for retirement account contributions. And what does that one mean? It simply means this. If you are in higher tax brackets, say you're in the 35% bracket or the 39.6% bracket, maybe you're making a lot of money. If you contribute to a retirement plan today, you get a deduction at whatever your tax bracket is. If you're in the 15% bracket, then you get a 15% deduction on your contribution. But if you're in the 39.6% bracket, you get a 39.6% deduction. All they're doing here is they're proposing that we limit those deductions to 28% maximum. So higher income earners, it would harm them, I guess you could say. We'll see. I mean, the higher income earners also tend to be the people who contribute to politicians' efforts. So we'll see how well that one goes over. Here's another one. Now this one I think actually has a bit of some hope of actually being enacted. It is that if you have $75,000 or less in your retirement plan, they're proposing that we waive required distributions. Now, if you're not sure what required distributions are, once you've hit the age of 70 and a half, don't ask me why it's 70 and a half. Why isn't it 70 or 71? It's our government at work, folks. Once you hit 70 and a half, you are forced to take some money out each year, and it's based on a calculation. What they're proposing is that here you are, you're 70 and a half or older, but if you only have $75,000 or less in your IRA or your 401k, they're proposing that we say, you know what, let's not worry about distributions. It's a nominal amount. It's more of a distraction. It just causes complications. Let's simplify it, just say you don't have to do it. That's what they're talking about doing in this proposal. We'll see if if they pass that. Actually, that one might, in my opinion, have some chance of being enacted. All right, last one. Now this is a big one, because this is where people get in trouble all the time. They're proposing that non-spousal beneficiaries can be allowed to do 60-day rollovers. Now, today, if your parent passes away and they leave you an IRA or a 401k, You can't do a rollover. You can't cash it out and then within 60 days put it in your name. You can't do that. If you do that, you're done. You've cashed it out. What they're saying is, maybe we should let people do that because there are so many mistakes being made there. Well, that would be a good one if it passes. We'll see what they do about it. All right, those are the last three. Now it's time to pass the baton to our co-host and your local retirement planning specialist and get their 2 cents.
And now, featuring Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor Tad Hill.
Well, Mike, again, we're talking about the government's plans to solve all of our retirement planning problems. And I think it's safe to say that they've got enough problems on their hands without trying to worry about that. But in typical fashion, they're going to solve all of the world's problems by passing some laws. So the truth of the matter is, if you are in retirement or near retirement, you need to ignore all this noise. You need to be controlling the things that you can control. What the government does or doesn't do, we will react to when it happens or it doesn't happen. But to spend a whole lot of time worrying about what they may or may not do is completely fruitless. It does not do you any good. And this is really important because I talked about this last week, but I want to say this again. The folks that come to see us, our clients, here is who you are. You are conscientious people that have saved well for retirement, that has taken control of your lives from the very beginning. You haven't sat around waiting for people to help you out. You've done it yourself. You are normally, your faith is very important to you, and you're very patriotic, but you're concerned about where the government and the country is headed. And herein lies the problem. This is a common theme that I see. People that normally have all of these very proactive traits are allowing what's going on with the government to paralyze them. And that is a huge mistake. We cannot control what the government does. We can cast our vote, and then that's it. We can't control inflation. We can't control the stock markets. But yet, you've got a retirement to plan for. So if you're already retired or preparing for retirement, you have to have a plan in place to make sure that your retirement goes the way you want it to. If we're going to wait until the world is perfect, then we'll never have a plan. So we have to sit down and go through what is going on in your life and what are the things that need to be put in place to protect you, to protect your spouse, to protect your children and your family, the people that you love and care about the most. What are the different ways that we need to plan for taking care of that? Income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, legacy planning. All of these things will affect you in retirement. And you're going to face things in retirement that you didn't have to face before then, or most of us don't. Your own mortality, rising healthcare costs. Those are some things that we can anticipate, and yet we can prepare for them. So, I don't know what the government's going to do. I don't know if they're going to cap IRA contributions or if they're going to eliminate RMDs for people with $75,000 or less, or if they're going to change the way you can inherit your IRAs. Whatever they decide to do, we'll deal with it. We'll help our clients plan for it. But until that happens, we still have a life to live. And if this makes sense to you, and you're asking yourself, what do I need to do to protect my retirement? How do I get the income that I need? What are some ways I can invest my dollars and not be taking all the risk that I see out in the world of investing these days, but still get a decent rate of return? What are all of the ways that I can do that? If you're curious about that, our Retirement Roadmap Review does exactly that. It steps through all of those things for your circumstances, and we ask the right questions and we get the answers and we put a plan in place. If you're interested in doing that for yourself, how to protect your retirement, give the number on the screen a call. I'm willing to set aside time on my calendar to help you do exactly that. It's called my Retirement Roadmap Review. Doesn't take a long time, but it is very precise in terms of how we go through these things. So give the number on the screen a call. I'm willing to set aside time to help you do that.
As always, terrific information from our retirement planning specialist, your co-host, and you have an opportunity. You've been given an opportunity. Pick up the phone, call the number, sit down with a retirement planning specialist, and have them take a look at your circumstances to see if you've got some gaps that need to be filled. All right, don't go away, because coming up is our question of the week. Hi, Michael Reese here, and you know what I found is in that critical period, the 5 years before retirement, all the way to the 5 years after retirement, in that 10-year period, I find that over and over again, Americans are making mistakes with their financial planning that, quite frankly, are easily avoided. And it really almost breaks my heart, because if you make little mistakes in this period of time, you can have huge consequences. So in order to help you not make those mistakes, I've put together a simple website with some free videos from me to you to help you be smart about your planning. The website is called 3mistakes.com. It's the number 3 spelled out, THREE, 3mistakes.com. Why don't you go there today?
Let's talk about a customized retirement plan. Retiring today is not what it used to be. What works for your neighbor may not be best for you. Yet everywhere you turn, it seems like financial firms are giving cookie-cutter advice.
Your circumstances are different than anyone else's. As a chartered retirement planning counselor, my Retirement Roadmap Review is designed to uncover the must-know facts for your situation before we start implementing solutions.
It's one more reason that now, more than ever, you need to talk to a retirement planning specialist. Why not call the number on your screen right now? We'd love to talk to you about protecting your retirement.
Welcome back. It's time for our question of the week.
This week's question is from Stan from Kingsley, Michigan. He writes, "My advisor is telling me that I should never consider using annuities for income. He says he can do the same thing with laddered bonds. Is he right?"
Well, listen, let me say this. Anytime anybody is telling you, oh, never do this or always do that, chances are they have an agenda. So in this case, your broker's agenda may be that they do bonds. Maybe they're a big fan of bonds. You know, I've worked with people that they think annuities are the solution to all the world's problems. Other people think it's the stock market. Some people think it's real estate. Here's the truth of the matter. Investments are like medicines. They're designed to do different things, and we don't always have to use the exact same medicine to solve a problem. Maybe there's 2 or 3 different ways we can go about it. So in this case, can you get a lifetime income stream from annuities? Yes, you can. That's what they're designed to do. Can you get a lifetime income stream from a laddered bond portfolio? Yes, you can. It's kind of what it's designed to do. Are there pros and cons to the different approaches? Yes, there are. So annuities give us some things that bonds don't give us. Bonds give us some things that annuities don't give us. You know, there are a lot of things that factor into the right way to solve a problem, but the truth of the matter is, rarely is there any one way to do it. There's typically 2 or 3 different ways to do it, and it's a matter of what works best for your circumstances and how do you feel about the pros and cons of the different approaches. Because if we generate a lifetime income stream using bonds, there are pros and cons. If we use dividend stocks or preferred stocks, there are pros and cons. If we're using annuities, there are pros and cons. So you need to understand what those pros and cons are. We first have to understand, what are we really trying to solve for? How much income do we need? And is it for 1 lifetime or 2 lifetimes? And how important is it to leave money to the children? How big of a deal is that to you? There are a lot of factors that go into the right way to put an income plan together. And if you're wondering for yourself, you know I need income, I got to replace my paycheck in retirement, what's the best way to do it? That's our Retirement Roadmap Review. We help you answer these questions. And I'll tell you now, there's no one right answer. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but there might be the right answer for you. If you want to do that, give the number on the screen a call. I'm willing to set aside time on my calendar to help you do that and figure this out for your circumstances.
This week on Chalk Talk, I'm bringing in my favorite tax strategist, Larry Flynn, to talk about phantom income. Check him out.
Hi, Larry Flynn. Listen, Mike asked me to come on the show here and talk to you a little bit about what is phantom income. And I'll refer this a little bit more to what I call phantom income tax, okay, which is basically the tax associated with that phantom income. Let's just take an atypical situation. I've got a couple older than age 65, okay, they're filing a joint return. They're taking IRA income at $30,000, Social Security at $30,000. Of that $30,000 Social Security, $6,800 of it's going to be taxed because of the other income. So their total income is $60,000. By the time they take their standard deduction and personal exemptions, their taxable income is only $15,050. Well, that puts them in the 10% bracket. Their tax ends up being $1,508. Now, let's say this couple has what we would call phantom income. Now, what is phantom income? It is basically income that I am not using today. That's income I'm investing to use for tomorrow. Now, for all practical purposes, when it comes to phantom income, we really want to be paying tax on dollars we're going to use tomorrow, not necessarily today. And let me show you why that might be the case. The same couple, still receiving IRA and Social Security money, the same amount, now decides they're taking their investment and they're investing it in stocks, bonds, and they're receiving dividends and interest of almost $25,000. Now, because of that income, now their income is $85,000, but look how much of their Social Security ends up being taxed now. It went from $6,800 to $25,000. Their taxable income now, after they take their standard deduction and personal exemption, is now $58,700. Okay, now if those dividends, as I mentioned up here, were qualified dividends, their tax is now $4,939. Now, if those dividends are not qualified dividends, the tax could be as high as $7,939. Huge difference over this $1,508. Basically 5-6 times, depending on where they fall in here with the qualified dividends. Now listen, this is huge. Now there's some ways that we might be able to fix this. If this is income we're not using till tomorrow, maybe we could put those into some tax deferred vehicles, delay that income to a future date when we're going to need it, and pay tax on it at that future date when we're going to be using it. Okay? And if you need to know more about this, then obviously you want to be talking to one of your retirement planning specialists just to see if this might be applying to you and how much tax you might be paying unnecessarily.
Let's talk about retirement income. Studies show that a large number of retirees are worried about running out of money. Broken promises from banks, Wall Street, and the folks in Washington, D.C. may have you worried about your own retirement security.
Having a predictable income stream is a key ingredient to protecting your retirement. One potential way to do that is to have your income stream based on math and not markets.
It's one more reason that now, more than ever, you need to talk to a retirement planning specialist. Why not call the number on your screen right now? We'd love to talk to you about protecting your retirement. You've worked your entire life to become financially secure so you can enjoy a comfortable retirement. But when you get there, what's next? Wall Street and the financial media flood the airwaves with information about what you should and shouldn't do. But who are they working for? Who can you trust?
For the past 17 years, I've focused on helping people just like you protect and preserve their retirement security. And during that time, I've identified 7 different lies, each with the potential to destroy the security that you've worked so hard to build. I believe that you deserve to know the truth. And so I've built a website that hosts a series of videos that's free of charge that you can watch in the comfort and safety of your own home.
You don't want to miss out on these powerful videos that shine the light of truth on what can be a confusing topic. Why don't you go there now? It's absolutely free, and you'll be glad you did. www.retirementincomelines.com. You deserve to know the truth.
Okay, Birmingham, it's that time again, Retirement Rescue of the Week. This week, I'm going to tell you about Fred and Lisa. Fred and Lisa are from Hoover, and they both retired about 2 years ago. They had lost a lot of money in 2008 and had taken all their money out of the stock market and put it into cash. So they've been sitting in cash while the market has been going up like a rocket. And they decided that finally they wanted to, they were ready to tip their big toe back into the water again. So they heard the radio show. Actually, they didn't come from the television show. They heard me on the radio, and they decided to come in and talk with me about retirement planning because it made sense to them that there's a big difference between growth and accumulation planning and what you get with working with a broker versus retirement planning, income planning, preservation of wealth, and what retirement planners do. So that story and message resonated with them, made sense to them, so they decided to come in and sit down with me. So what we did was we went through my retirement roadmap review. We walked through the 5 areas. We walked through income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, legacy planning. And what we found was that they were going to need about 3% from their savings every year to pay the bills in retirement. Neither one of them had any long-term care. They were afraid they couldn't afford it. But they also understood that solving for that risk was something that was pretty important because Fred's mom had Alzheimer's and she was in a nursing home for 10 years. Now, all of us hope that that does not happen to any of us. And certainly it is a tragedy, and that disease is probably one of the worst. But he understood that solving that problem was important, but they were very worried about how much money it was going to take to do that, and they didn't know if they were actually going to need it, so long-term care insurance was something that they were a little bit skeptical of. But the other issue was that they had 3 kids, and it was very important to them that they leave money to their children. Both of them had grown up in very Spartan environments and didn't have a lot growing up, and they wanted to make sure that they had given their children a start in life. But they weren't sure how to do all these things. They had all their money in cash. They had them in some CDs earning less than 1% at the bank. They didn't want to go into the stock market, but they also understood that, you know, if you're going to get maximum growth on your money, sometimes we have to take a little risk. But they wanted to see if there were ways to take less risk and to still get the returns that they needed. They wanted to solve for long-term care, and they wanted to leave money to their kids. We went through our retirement roadmap review, and what we did was we put together a plan where we used a very conservatively invested, actively managed market-based account that's designed to generate interest and dividends, throw off some yield. We put a little bit of money in a fixed annuity with an income rider so that we could grow it to turn on a pension for them so that they had some income that was going to last for both lifetimes, no matter how long they lived. And then we kept a good bit of their money still in cash because it was very difficult for them to not have a lot of cash in the bank, but they understood that they needed a solution. We were able to solve the long-term care problem and put the right type of trust in place to protect the money for the kids. So this was a pretty complicated case. And when we sat down and went through it all, they walked away telling me what so many of our clients say, which is, you're the first person that's really done comprehensive retirement planning. Everybody else has just invested our money. If this makes sense to you and you want to take advantage of that, give the number on the screen a call, and I'll sit down with you and go through that same process with you to help you solve for protecting your retirement.
There you have it. Another story of why visiting with a retirement planning specialist can make such a positive difference in your life. I don't know what you're waiting for. Call the number on the screen. Make sure you sit down with these guys, and it will make a positive difference, hopefully, in your life. Okay, it's time now to turn the page, transition to the end of the show, and I have again one of my famous IRA blow-ups. This week's IRA blow-up comes to us from Private Letter Ruling 20130920. And a private letter ruling is basically where somebody messed up, so they sent in their individual circumstances to the IRS and they said, please have mercy on us, please tell us that this is going to be okay. And we're basically throwing ourselves on the mercy of the court, if you will. So here's what we've got. We have a gal who was doing something called a 72T distribution, so Internal Revenue Code 72T. And what that is, it's when you are under the age of 59 and a half, but you want to take income from your IRA. The IRS has this, a little known rule called Internal Revenue Code 72-T that allows you to take periodic and systematic distributions from your IRA and not pay the 10% penalty. Now, if you run afoul of their rules, the penalties are nasty, nasty. They're really, really bad. So you want to make sure you're really dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Well, in this case, here's what happens, and this is kind of sad. And I'll just kind of read from this. A woman had set up a 72T distribution payment from her IRA, and she'd been receiving the distributions for several years without a problem. However, the employee at the custodian where the money was, the employee who was assigned for the responsibility of making the annual distributions, retired. And when she retired, nobody took over her job. So here it was, at the end of the year, this poor lady who's been receiving distributions, she said, wait a minute, my money didn't come in. It was supposed to come in December. It didn't come. So she contacts the custodian, the place that has her IRA, says, hey, I didn't get my money in December. What's going on? Well, we find out that the lady that did it retired. Nobody took it over. So the custodian said, holy cow, oops, we messed up. Let's hurry up, and even though it's now January of the next year, 2012 at this point, let's get you that 2011 distribution. We'll double up here in 2012. But this represents breaking the rules on this 72T thing, so there's lots and lots of tax penalties. So we're going to go to the IRS, throw ourselves in the mercy of the court with a private letter ruling and see if we can get them to okay it, give us an okay. Well, good news in this particular case, the IRS said, yeah, it's a custodian's fault, it's not your fault. We'll waive the penalties, we'll give you a free pass. However, in order to get that free pass, they had to pay the IRS $10,000 for that private letter ruling, plus all the legal and professional accounting fees to make it happen. So it wasn't quite a free pass, was it? Ouch! That's our IRA blow up. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show this week. I thought it was terrific. Take care, everybody.